Hi everyone, and welcome to Cooking in Manhattan. I have a little surprise for all my viewers who have been asking for this recipe. Yes, because today I am making tagliatelle alla Bolognese. Bolognese is a wonderful meat sauce that is known all over the world, and I'm gonna give you a little bit of history and a lot of tips and tricks to make the best Bolognese sauce ever. Let's take a look at the ingredients for this voluptuous recipe. We are going to start with the soffritto, like many other Italian recipes, and we will use 1 cup of chopped onion, half a cup of celery, and half a cup of carrot. That will give a lot of sweetness to this sauce. Then I selected 3 different kinds of ground meat. So we have beef, pork, and veal. We are going to deglaze the pan with some white wine, approximately 1 cup, and then we're going to add 2 cups of beef broth and some tomato puree. We are going to give a full-bodied flavor to this sauce with some spices. Obviously we're going to use some salt, but most importantly we will add some cumin, cardamom, and cinnamon. And now let's get cooking. My meats have been very happily cooking and browning in the pan for more or less 5 to 8 minutes. And now I am removing them and set them aside, and I will then saute the rest of the ingredients, which would be our soffritto, in the same juices of the meat. This will allow all the flavors to come together, and also it's a little bit easier on your waistline because you don't have to add any additional oil to your pan. And now we are ready to caramelize our soffritto. So onions first, then we have the carrots, and finally we have the celery. I'm going to give it a quick stir and then let it caramelize. This might take an additional 5 to 8 minutes, but it will also give us a base that we can then deglaze with that white wine that you saw before. We have been caramelizing our soffritto for 5 to 6 minutes, and now we are reintroducing in the pan the meat. Bear in mind that some of the juices of the meat might have been at the bottom of this pan. Don't discard them, just put them back in, because this is going to really give more flavor to the dish. And now we're gonna stir everything together. See, I wish you guys had a function for internet that allowed you to smell what I'm smelling right now, because this smells so good and it's going to be so delicious. And now we can finally deglaze the pan. So all the caramelization flavor is going to come out from these ingredients, and it smells so good. And next step is we are adding all the other ingredients. While I'm heating the oven, I am adding 2 cups of beef broth to my pot. Next, we have some tomato. I'm adding to the pan 2 cups of tomato puree, like this, and let's scrape the sides so everything comes together. And I'm also adding a nice generous pinch of salt. We've got a lot of stuff to salt, so something like this is pretty much fine. So here we go. And finally, the spices that I promised you. We're going to add a little bit of cumin, if I can open it. Let's see. Okay. So it's more or less a tiny pinch of cumin. This maybe a little bit more, maybe 2 tiny pinches of cumin. This is going to give it a lot of meatiness in the flavor. And then a little bit of cinnamon. I know it sounds odd because in America cinnamon is mostly conceived as something that is for sweets, but in Italy not really, so we use that too. And then a pinch of cardamom. A little bit. Here we go. So let's stir everything together, and I am going to I'm going to cover the pot and then transfer it into the oven. There is a reason for that, because originally this dish that was created in the Middle Ages in Bologna it was made when students were going to school. In Bologna, there was one of the most famous and first universities in the world. So they would actually cook this as a stew before they cooked it as a sauce. So I am going to discard this, cover my pot, and then with my mitts, I will put it in the oven. Here we go. Where it's going to cook. This is going to cook for more or less a couple of hours. All the flavors will blend together perfectly, and then we're gonna cook some tagliatelle and eat it with that. After a couple of hours, our bolognese is almost ready. I already have my pot of boiling water for some tagliatelle that I'm going to use to taste this bolognese at its best, exactly like they do it in Bologna. So, here it is. Whoa, it smells good. Ah, it's heavy. Look how beautiful this is. Isn't that phenomenal? I promise you, this is going to be the best tagliatelle alla bolognese you ever tried. Are you ready to try my bolognese sauce? It's rich and salty, and it's so smooth. You're gonna love it. If you have any question about this recipe or any other of cooking in Manhattan, please email me or Twitter me at this address down here. And I'll see you again on the next Cooking in Manhattan. Ciao!